We just turned this blank wall in our studio into this. With just a couple of clicks and clacks, we have ourselves a giant map, and we'll show you how we did it right now.
Do it, build it, make it. If you think that we created, do it, build it, make it. With Kim and Garrett, make it.
What is up? Welcome back. Do you like to do it, build it, or make it?
So do we.
Today we're making some wall art. It's going to be a giant map of Richmond, and we're going to put it up in our studio. This is something that we wanted to get done before the Jamboree, but we ran out of time. So we get to do it today. It's going to be big, and it's going to be pretty easy. We're going to use laser map maker software to create ourselves a 5 foot by 5 foot 9 panel map wall art.
We'll be using the tiling feature within the laser map maker software, so you can take a map, break it up, make it big, and put it into different size panels so that you can cut this on your desktop laser. So you can make a wall art panel like we're doing using just the desktop laser. We'll be using our Eon Nova 14 today, and our panels will be 16 by 16 because I've got a pretty large wall. But you can make a large wall panel just like this using only a desktop laser.
I mean, Kim wants to go big, so who am I to stop her? This is going to be super easy with just a couple of clicks and a couple of clacks in the laser map maker software. We got ourselves some maps. We can jump right in and show you just how easy it is. Step 1, we're going to map out our map. We're going to jump into laser map maker software, and Kim is going to show you just how easy it is to find your place in the world.
Here we are in the laser map maker software. We're going to start with a new project, and we are going to call this RVA 9 tile wall art. Now we have a choice. We can start with the starter template or a blank template. The blank template, there are a lot more settings you have to choose. The starter template is a great place to start. It gives you your basics, and that's really all that we'll need for this project. This starts you with a land layer cut, a land layer engrave, and a roads layer cut. And that's really all that we need for this layered map wall art that we're doing. Next thing we're going to do is choose our location. You can put in your coordinates. We're just going to type in Richmond, Virginia. And here we are, super zoomed in. That is the state capital of Virginia. Really close view. But we're going to zoom out a little bit here. And about right there is what we want. The fan is a big part of downtown Richmond, so you want to show that fan. It really goes out far. Isn't that pretty cool? But we want to zoom in a little bit because I do want to be able to see some of these roads. That's what the downtown roads look like. And then we want to split the river. I want the city to kind of be here in the center blocks, the river down below, and then there's some other areas up here that we want. So I think this is the view that I want. Now, because we are going to create 9 tiles and each of those are going to have a border, we do not want a border at this point in the project. Otherwise, it's going to add a border on top of this outside border after it splits it into 9. So we want to remove this border and add the border later. To do that, we're going to click the 3 dots, go to settings, down here to border, and change it to 0. And we want to do that for all 3 of these layers. All right, we've removed our border, and that's really all that we need to do. There are some other cool features in here. You can put your map into a shape. You can put your map into the look of a state. So we could put it in Virginia, but that's not what we're doing. So we're going back to the square rectangle, and we're going to preview our export. Now, as you can see here, you do have to keep your browser focused on this tab. I have tried to move off this tab several times in preparation for filming this. So had to learn to be patient. Now we have our 3 layers, as you can see down here at the bottom. You can look at them individually, and you can look at them as a combined view, which is how we were on the previous screen. Now, as we talked about, this is the land layer cut. We do want it vector, we do want it outline, and we want an SVG. For the engrave, land layer, engrave layer, this is the secondary roads. We do want it vector, we want it fill, and we want SVG. And then for the roads, we do want it vector, outline, SVG. So that looks good. The next thing we're going to do is go to the tiling tab. We're going to enable tiling. Now it comes in default 3x3, which is perfect. That's what we're going to keep it at. And see here, it's automatically added a border for us. And this is where we want the border. Otherwise, the outside border would still be there, and we don't want that. So like I said, 3 columns, 3 rows. The spacing is fine. We're gonna mess with it a little bit in LightBurn, so I'm gonna leave the spacing so I can group them individually. And then the border width here. Now this border width is coming in at 20 pixels. Now that is at about 1/3 of an inch. Now these, what we have learned is when this exports currently, it will export each of these at about 5 inches. But we want ours to be at 16 inches. So we know that once we get this into LightBurn, we're going to scale this up by 3 times 3. So I know that if I want my border to be an inch, then 1/3 of an inch right now times 3 will get me at about 1 inch border. Because as you scale your 9 boxes, your border size will scale as well and become thicker. So I'm going to leave this at 20 pixels. I'm also going to change the border color here. And because we're moving this into LightBurn and we know we want to cut this, I'm just going to go ahead and set it to red. The engrave layer, I'm not going to give it a border. I'm going to leave it white. And then for the roads layer, I'm going to give it a red border. So you can use the dropper tool and say, pick up this color. So it's 25500. And now I can update my preview. And you can see I have the red border on the land layer and the roads layer, but the engrave layer has a white border or no border. So I'm going to click export. All of my settings are as we set them before. This will be 3 credits and export. Super easy. Now once it exports, it will have to process for less than a minute. It really doesn't take much time. And while this is processing, a couple of tips here. Since I'm going to be bringing this into LightBurn, I'm going to download the zip file that has all 3 layers. But if I were bringing this into xTool's Creative Space and I were going to cut this on a smaller laser, Creative Space will try to bring in the zip file and the 3 layers stacked on top of each other. So I would recommend, if exporting and using Creative Space, to download them individually. But since we're using LightBurn, we're going to say download zip output.
Step 2, it's time to prep our map. We're going to do this in LightBurn, and that's the only other software we're using, Laser Map Maker and LightBurn.
Now you can use Creative Space though. I didn't want to leave this segment without letting you know. You can import this into Creative Space and again, use your desktop laser if you're using the P2 or something like that.
Fun fact, Laser Map Maker is actually built into xTool Creative Space.
Actually, it gets announced the day this video goes live.
Oh, well, you're in the know. Inside LightBurn, we're going to prep our file, get it ready to cut and engrave. First, I'm going to drag my land layer engrave in. Check it out. Looks okay, looks pretty solid. It's only 1 layer, so I know there's nothing funky going on. We'll set this guy aside. Have a seat over here, sir. Now we're going to drag in my land layer cut. And then this needs some massaging. It's got some things that we don't need. Like, I don't need to cut the inside of my frame. Everything is just going to fall out then. So we're going to get rid of the inside of the frame. And then we've got these little weird connector pieces. We'll get rid of those also. So I know my cut layer is red, and I'm pretty sure that's the outside layer here. So we're going to hide red. Boop. And then down here, it looks like my layer 17, if I right click, it'll blink. Layer 17 is my water, and layer 15 is also water. So we're gonna hide these water pieces, hide. And now I don't need these guys anymore because this is the inside and that's the connectors. Let's grab these. Make sure we are ungrouped before I delete them all. All right, now let's grab these again, delete. Let's bring back 15 and 17, right? These are my water layers. If I right click, they'll blink. I want to put these all on 1 layer. All right, so I'm just gonna select them all to make sure we got everything. Or put them all on the blue layer. This is gonna be my score layer, but I'm also gonna use it as a cut layer. Let's bring back the red layer and we'll start to group these things. So I'm gonna use these backers here, or this land layer. This land layer is gonna be my backers, and it's also gonna be my land layer. So this is gonna be where my water is. So when I do my water piece, I'm gonna cut out the frame, but I'm gonna score where the water pieces are. That way I know how to put everything back together. And there's a bunch of little islands that we have to line up down here, so I'm gonna score it. And then next time I come back in, I'm gonna set that blue layer to cut. Let's group everything, and while that's selected, I'm gonna grab this guy, and we're gonna hit this bullseye. The bullseye will align it middle and center. All right, fellas, you guys are buddies. Hang out there for a minute. I'm gonna work on the roads. I'm gonna go back out, gonna grab my road layer cut. This is also gonna need some massaging. All right, so for this guy, let's hide my red layer. All right, it's got a frame on the inside too. Let's right click this guy, beep, beep, boop. All right, we don't need these guys. If I right click on C10, you see these blink. I don't want those because I want the roads connected to the frame. So let's hide this black layer. Now all these little junk pieces are left. Let's make sure everything's ungrouped and we'll delete them. We'll bring back the red layer and the black layer. I have to get rid of these little connectors here. Since they're set on the black layer, they didn't show up when I was trying to delete everything. So we'll delete all these little connectors. We'll grab all these guys. We'll put them all on the red layer. This is all gonna be cut. And let's do some house cleaning. Just group these together. I'm gonna move them around later, and I don't want any of the roads to get messed up or get funky. So I'm just gonna group everything. That way when I go to try to move them around and save material, I don't accidentally lose a whole highway. All right, now these all are ready to go, but they're still a little tiny. This guy has 4 1/3 inch. Kim's looking for 16 inches. I've already done the math, so I'm gonna grab everything. Let's just Control A to make sure I got it all. All right, and then I'm gonna come up here to the height. And for the height, I'm gonna say space times 3.677. I've already done the math. And let's see what we got. All right, 16 inches. I mean, it's 16 and a little bit of change, but that'll get shaved off with the laser. I think we're ready to go. Now what's gonna happen is when I go to cut my backer, I'm gonna turn off the output for my engrave. I'm gonna cut these out. I'm gonna score for the water, so I'll know where to put the islands back in. And then I'm gonna come back in for my next cut. I'm gonna do the engrave, I'm gonna do the cut of the frame, and then the blue is gonna turn into a cut also. Step 3, we're gonna make all of our cuts. We're gonna use our Eon Nova 14 to make all of these cuts because I wanna do a couple of panels at the same time. So we're gonna use some 1/8 inch MDF for the backer, that's gonna be the water. Then we're gonna use some 1/8 inch birch, that's gonna be the engrave and the land.
That's to give it a little color contrast.
Then we're gonna use some 1/4 inch MDF for the roads, kind of give it that depth feel, make it cast some shadows. So this first cut is gonna be our backers. So let's move this stuff over here. We'll group these together a little tighter. Actually, let's ungroup everything. Ungroup everything. And I'm gonna regroup these guys, and we're gonna shift some stuff around. So if I'm sliding them together and I hold shift, they'll stay on the axis. So I don't get all wobbly and wonky and misaligned. So I can move all these guys together. I'll hold shift. All right, we'll grab these guys first. We'll bring them down. I want to do engrave, and then I want to do score, and then I want to do cut. But for my score, I wanted, what, 200 225, 53.
Yes.
So that's my engrave. All right. My score, I know I want like 200, 200, and then 25 is my score, 25. And I know my cut is gonna be 10 and 50. So this first go around, I'm gonna hide the output of the engrave, and I'm gonna score this blue part and cut the red part. All the backers are cut out. Now it's time to do the road layer or the land layer with the water inside. So now I'm just gonna come back, I'm gonna unhide the output for the engrave, and now for my strokes, I'm gonna come back and make this 10 and 50. Oops, 10 and 50 to match my cut layer.
So this is the middle layer.
Yep, this is the middle layer. This is above the water, but below these highway roads. All right, so let's grab this and we'll cut this out. All right, we're back in LightBurn for one more cut. We are done with the backers and the land. Let's move these guys out of the way and we'll bring in the roads. I'm gonna get some more material out of more space out of my material. All right, now I don't need to adjust anything. It's the same cut. I'm just gonna come back in and cut my roads now. Step 4, time to paint and assemble. We have all 27 pieces cut out. Each piece of the engrave probably took about 45 minutes. And we saved almost half that time just by cutting the engrave down to 100 lines per inch.
That's right. It makes it maybe just a slight bit lighter than the deeper engrave. But for our purposes, I think that it's still a strong contrast within the 1/8" birch. And I think it was so worth it to save 45 minutes on each board.
Definitely, I think so. You won't even notice once we're done. So here's the 1/8" MDF. We're gonna paint these pieces where we're able to see the water. We're gonna paint the water areas blue. I scored it so we'll know we don't have to waste paint. Here's our birch piece. I think we're gonna leave this raw and maybe give it a quick sand.
I think we're going to maybe spray it with a little clear coat.
Okay.
Each one of them, just a quick spray with clear coat. I don't want to leave it too raw.
And our 1/4" layer, we're just gonna paint black. We're just gonna roll it with some black paint.
Super quick, super easy.
Step 5, time to install the wall. We're just gonna use some command strips. We put 2 on each. And we're just gonna stick them to the wall. That's it.
That's it.
Step 6, now we have the accents.
The wall's looking beautiful, but we're gonna add some landmark locations using our Logo Jet 90R and print some of our famous locations around Richmond.
Then we'll throw it back into the Eon to do a cut of our UV print. We have our landmarks all printed and cut out. Now we're just gonna stick them to the map using some of these foam little sticky things, little pop dot glue dots. think? It came out great. A little bit bigger than I had in my head, but bigger is always better in my book. And I definitely like all these little popped out landmarks.
Yes.
They're super cute.
Yes, the laser map maker software made this so easy. It made a huge map, a statement piece.
Well, I mean, what did it take? Like a total of 13 minutes to get it prepped and start cutting? And I think the engraved piece took the longest time. I think that was just the bottleneck in this project. But otherwise, I think it was great. Shrink these down to 12-inch panels, and you can easily do this inside a desktop laser.
The other great thing is that you can do all kinds of shapes. So not only can you tile your map like we've done here, you can do this on a much smaller scale and tile it for just a simple wall art. You can also do states. There's so many different cool features now with the Laser Map Maker software.
Well, we're about out of time, so a big thanks to the Make It Mafia. We love you guys. That is the best way to support this channel, and we'll have more about doing maps over there, because I definitely want to do a lot more of these maps. I think we should do some ornament maps. I definitely want to do a state shape ornament map.
Well, I think these would be great for B2B sales. Offer this for restaurants in the local area. I think these would be awesome.
That would be great. All right, I'm out of time. I gotta go start my next map. Was that dumb?
That's what your board says.
Oh, is it? I didn't even know. We're using some foam pop dots to secure our little monuments and stuff. Can you see it? We're just gonna stick them on.
Nope, stop and do that again.
We have our monuments all printed and cut out.
Landmarks.
What did I say?
Monument.
We have our monuments.
Landmarks.